this visual here is going to be paired along with an audio file of some recent press releases from the FAA concerning the outage, and then also some press releases from a couple days prior too. One from January 9th, then another one from January 10th, and then the current ones from January 11th. And then the end of the audio file is going to cover Chapter 1 of the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Aviation Administration's Order 8000.369C. And it's kind of interesting, the timeline of events of how they've been implementing the safety management systems and how they're going and cooperating with these international civil aviation organizations and stuff like that. So the audio file is going to be at the very end, chapter 1 of this file, but then I'm going to do additional videos and go into some of the additional chapters as well that kind of discuss the SMS program and how it's been integrated into our regulatory system, so to speak. So anyway, again, the visual here is a time-lapse capture looking to the west from Henderson Southwest Extreme Triangle, as it's referred to in certain circles. So I hope that you enjoy it, and if you are not subscribed yet, please subscribe, and if you like any of the content, please like it and share it, and maybe give a mention if you feel compelled. Know that it's greatly appreciated, and there's definitely more to come. I have several more clips from the security cams to get uploaded and organized into some compilations to kind of show a timeline of a few different things that were occurring the day before the outage as well. So please stay tuned and know that I appreciate you and that you matter very, very much to me. So, well, since I'm repetitive, I got to say it one more time. The visual is a time-lapse capture toward Mount Charleston Peak and to the west, and the audio file are some recent FAA press releases and reports concerning some new proposals for rule making and implementing the Safety Management Systems International.
FAA recent press releases. U.S. FAA and Korea to partner on advanced air mobility certification operations. Monday, January 9th, 2023. The Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) and the Korea Office of Civil Aviation (KOCA) agreed to partner on future advanced air mobility (AAM) aircraft development and operations. The agencies signed the Declaration of Cooperation, under which they will collaborate on AAM projects and share ideas, information, skills, and techniques. Said Acting FAA Administrator Billy Nolan, quote, "Collaborating with our international partners on safely integrating these new technologies will create more efficient, sustainable, and equitable transportation options," end quote. The two agencies will work together to promote the safety oversight of AAM, advanced air mobility, including airworthiness, licensing, and operations. The announcement follows the FAA's partnerships with Japan and with the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand and the National Aviation Authorities Network to harmonize our certification criteria and integration plans. Tuesday, January 10th, 2023, FAA proposes rule mandating use of program to detect, mitigate risks early. Proposed safety management system rule would help operators and manufacturers detect safety issues early. Washington. The U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) proposed a rule that requires charter, commuter, and air tour operators and aircraft manufacturers to implement a critical safety approach that has helped create the safest era in aviation history. The program, Safety Management Systems or SMS, is a set of policies and procedures where companies identify, monitor, and address potential operational hazards early on before they become serious problems. U.S. airlines have been required to have SMS since 2018. Quote, Expanding safety management systems to other players in the aviation industry will reduce accidents and incidents and save lives, said acting FAA Administrator Billy Nolan. Quote, as safe and efficient as our system is today, we must always strive to achieve the next level of safety. End quote. The rule would support the FAA's preventive approach that detects and corrects potential safety issues before they result in accidents or incidents. The FAA has strongly encouraged aviation industry members other than scheduled airlines to voluntarily implement SMS. Boeing, Bell, GE, P&W, and Sikorsky all have approved SMS programs. The proposed rule goes beyond the requirements of the Aircraft Certification, Safety and Accountability Act of 2020, which directed the FAA to mandate SMS only for aircraft manufacturers. The rule also addresses recommendations from the National Transportation Safety Board and independent review panels. Compliance times would vary between 1 and 2 years after the rule took effect, depending on the operation. The public comment period on the proposed rule will run for 60 days. Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, NPRM, Safety Management Systems. Safety Management Systems. The FAA proposed a rule that requires charter, commuter, and air tour operators and aircraft manufacturers to implement a critical safety approach that has helped create the safest era in aviation history. The rule would support the FAA's preventive approach that detects and corrects potential safety issues before they result in accidents or incidents. The FAA signed this notice of proposed rulemaking on January 10, 2023. The published document could contain minor changes due to formatting and editorial requirements, and the docket will not go live until publication. Upon publication, the document can be found on the Federal Register's website at www.federalregister.gov, and parties may submit comments in the docket at www.regulations.gov. Last updated Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. FAA No TAM Statement Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. FAA Statement 7:15 a.m. Eastern Time. The FAA is still working to fully restore the notice to air mission system following an outage. The FAA has ordered airlines to pause all domestic departures until 9 a.m. Eastern Time to allow the agency to validate the integrity of flight and safety information. FAA Statement 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time. The FAA is making progress in restoring its notice to air mission system following an overnight outage. Departures are resuming at Newark Liberty, EWR, and Atlanta Hartsfield, Jackson, ATL airports due to air traffic congestion in those areas. We expect departures to resume at other airports at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. FAA Statement 8:50 a.m. Eastern Time. Normal air traffic operations are resuming gradually across the United States following an overnight outage to the FAA's Notice to Air Missions (NOTAM) system that provides safety information to flight crews. The ground stop has been lifted. The agency continues to look into the cause of the initial problem. Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. FAA Statement 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The FAA is continuing a thorough review to determine the root cause of the Notice to Air Missions (NOTAM) system outage. Our preliminary work has traced the outage to a damaged database file. At this time, there is no evidence of a cyber attack. The FAA is working diligently to further pinpoint the causes of this issue and take all needed steps to prevent this kind of disruption from happening again. Proposed Order for Rulemaking. U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Aviation Administration. Subject: Safety Management System or SMS. Order 8000.369. See effective date June 24, 20. 1. This order establishes the Safety Management System (SMS) policy and requirements for the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA). The requirements contained within this document are intended to help FAA organizations incorporate SMS and/or International Civil Aviation Organization (ICAO) State Safety Program (SSP) requirements into their organizations. FAA organization SMSs work together to form the overall FAA SMS. Specifically, this order: A. Further safety management by evolving to a more process-oriented system safety approach with an emphasis on safety risk management, SRM, and safety assurance processes. B. Sets forth basic management principles to guide the FAA in safety management and safety oversight activities. C. Requires adopting a common approach to implementing and maturing an integrated SMS, including fostering a positive safety culture and other attributes as applicable. D. Defines the roles and responsibilities of the FAA organizations, FAA SMS Executive Council, and FAA SMS Committee regarding safety management. 2. This order applies to the following lines of business, Lapse, and staff offices: Air Traffic Organization, ATO, Aviation Safety, AVS, Airports, ARP, Commercial Space Transportation, AST, Next Generation Air Transportation System, ANG, and Security and Hazardous Materials Safety, ASH. This order is written to allow for application to other FAA organizations as deemed appropriate by the Administrator. Steve Dixon, Administrator. Safety Management Systems, SMS. Chapter 1. General Information. 1. Purpose of this order. This order, A. Establishes the Safety Management System (SMS) policy and requirements for the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA). The requirements contained within this document are intended to help FAA organizations incorporate SMS and/or International Civil Aviation Organization (ICAO) State Safety Program (SSP) requirements into their organizations. The SMSs and FAA organizations work together to form the overall FAA SMS. B. Explains the SMS principles and requirements. C. Standardizes terminology for safety management, where appropriate. D. Defines the roles and responsibilities of the FAA organizations, FAA SMS Executive Council, and FAA SMS Committee regarding safety management. E. Requires FAA organizations to establish guidance defining SMS implementation activities for their own organizations and for their industry segment. F. Establishes the commitment for continuous improvement of SMS. 2. Audience. This order applies to the following lines of business, Lapse, and staff offices: Air Traffic Organization, ATO, Aviation Safety, AVS, Airports, ARP, Commercial Space Transportation, AST, Next Generation Air Transportation System, ANG, and Security and Hazardous Materials Safety, ASH. In the document where the term applicable FAA organizations is used, it refers to the organizations listed above. This order is written to allow for application to other FAA organizations as later deemed appropriate. Additional Note 1. This order does not apply to external product service providers. However, Chapter 2, Section 3 and Chapter 3, Section 4.b address the connection between the FAA's SMS and its oversight of the SMSs of external product service providers. 3. Where you can find this order. You can find this order on the MyFAA employee website, https://employees.faa.gov/tools_resources/orders_notices. 4. Cancellation. This order replaces FAA Order 8000.369B, Safety Management System, dated March 18, 2016. 5. Explanation of changes. This revision does the following: A. removes the references to the risk-based decision-making strategic initiative now that it has been completed and the outputs have been incorporated into the FAA SMS. B. Changes the references to significant safety issues to safety issues in order to align with the continuous identification and management of safety issues rather than an annual process. End Part 1.